Irregular and asymmetric patterns. We start with irregular and asymmetric patterns, perhaps the most common form of trypophobia. Contrary to what many think, it's not exactly the hole that causes discomfort. It's the spatial frequency of the image. Researchers at Swansea University discovered that trypophobic images possess a unique visual signature. They contain excess energy in mid-range spatial frequencies. When they filter out these specific frequencies, discomfort decreases significantly. What makes this fascinating is that concave holes don't cause more discomfort than convex bumps. The aversion isn't to the hole itself, but to the underlying mathematical pattern. Your visual brain is processing an overload of information structured in a very specific way, and that generates discomfort. This discovery revolutionized our understanding, showing that trypophobia is fundamentally a visual processing problem, not direct evolutionary fear. Curiously, tests with digital filters confirm that reducing these specific frequencies decreases the discomfort response by up to 70% of participants. Natural formations with clusters. Natural formations with clusters are perhaps the most powerful triggers. Honeycomb, lotus seeds, coral structures, insect nests. These natural patterns activate something far deeper than simple visual preference. Evolutionary theory suggests this aversion is an ancestral protection mechanism. In nature, certain clustering patterns, especially in organisms, signal danger. Parasites, infections, venomous animals. Your brain inherited an alarm that says, "This could be dangerous. Avoid it." Interestingly, this response is mediated by disgust, not traditional fear. It's the same emotion you feel when seeing something contaminated or repugnant. Studies show that people with high sensitivity to natural patterns also tend to have more intense disgust responses in general, suggesting an underlying personality trait. This connection between trypophobia and disgust is so strong that therapists now focus on reducing the disgust response rather than simply exposing the patient to the pattern. Research indicates that this aversion may have evolved as protection against infectious diseases transmitted by insects and parasites. Dermatological trypophobia. Dermatological trypophobia is perhaps the most disturbing. Aversion to patterns on human skin, severe acne, dilated pores, and clustered scars. These triggers cause intense reactions. Here, science reveals something important. This form of trypophobia is strongly influenced by social learning. Recent research analyzed online communities dedicated to the topic and discovered that sensitivity increases with repeated exposure on social media. The more you see trypophobia images being shared and commented on, the more sensitive you become. Additionally, there's a component of threat to bodily integrity. When you see patterns on skin, your brain interprets it as a possible infection or disease, activating both disgust and anxiety. That's why this form is so visceral. It combines visual processing with real biological concern. Studies show that people exposed to online trypophobia communities develop symptoms 40% more intense than those without such exposure. Artificial surfaces with microholes. Artificial surfaces with microholes represent a different type of trigger. Here we're talking about man-made objects, rubber foam, perforated plastic, metal with holes, porous ceramics. Interestingly, this form of trypophobia is less intense than natural ones, but still causes significant discomfort. The reason? Your brain can categorize this as artificial, evolutionarily less threatening, but the spatial frequency is still there, causing that visual overload. What makes this interesting is that the response varies greatly with context and familiarity. A foam mattress with holes causes more discomfort than a kitchen sieve with similar holes. Why? Because you associate the mattress with direct body contact, reactivating that biological protection mechanism. Trypophobia isn't just visual, it's contextual and associative. This explains why some people can work with porous materials without issue, while others completely avoid any contact with these objects. Trypophobia in food. Trypophobia in food is particularly intriguing because it combines visual aversion with gustatory rejection. Strawberries with clustered seeds, bread with large holes, Swiss cheese, pineapple, these foods cause discomfort even before you eat them. Studies show that people with high sensitivity to food trypophobia frequently avoid these foods, even if they like the taste. It's a purely visual aversion that interferes with actual eating behavior. Here, we have an interesting overlap. The visual pattern activates disgust, which in turn activates anticipated gustatory rejection. Your brain is saying, "This looks dangerous to eat." Again, it's that evolutionary mechanism in action. Patterns in food can signal decomposition or contamination. Researchers have found that people with this form of trypophobia frequently develop nutritional deficiencies by avoiding healthy foods. Nutritionists report that patients with this condition need alternative strategies, such as eating processed foods or different forms to maintain adequate nutritional intake. Abstract and conceptual forms. Finally, abstract and conceptual forms, patterns that don't exist in nature, but still activate the trypophobic response. Fractals, pure geometric patterns, even verbal descriptions of clusters can cause discomfort. This tells us something profound. Trypophobia isn't just about what you see, but about how your brain processes visual information. Even abstract patterns, with no real evolutionary connection, activate the same response. Researchers believe this occurs because the abstract pattern still contains those problematic spatial frequencies, that visual signature that overloads your visual system. It's pure visual mathematics. What's interesting is that people with high sensitivity to abstract patterns also frequently struggle with certain types of modern art and graphic design. Some even report discomfort seeing programming code or complex mathematical structures on screen. Neuroscientists discovered that brain activation in response to abstract patterns is virtually identical to activation caused by natural patterns, confirming that the mechanism is purely visual and not contextual. Trypophobia isn't a traditional phobia. It's a multifactorial response that combines visual processing, evolutionary heritage, biological disgust, and social learning. It affects roughly 1 in 10 people, and science is only beginning to fully understand why. If you're one of them, know that you're not alone, and that researchers are developing new therapies focused on reducing this response. If this video was helpful, leave a like and subscribe to our channel. Your phobia doesn't define who you are. Your courage to face it does.